Leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, is in the eye of a storm over a discussion in Berlin where an hour-long viral video has him say there is wholesale capture of institutional framework and that intelligence and probe agencies are weaponized against the opposition in India. Though Rahul Gandhi also said that the Indian democracy is global public good, the ruling BJP has come out all guns blazing, accusing Rahul Gandhi of repeatedly demeaning Indian democracy on the world stage because he's losing one election after the other and refuses to introspect.
We fundamentally believe that there is a problem with the electoral machinery in India.
Leader of opposition is once again in the eye of a storm. Rahul Gandhi repeated his vote theft charge, but this time on foreign soil. Speaking in Berlin, Rahul Gandhi questioned India's polls and alleged that central agencies are being weaponized.
We've won election in Telangana, we've won election in Himachal Pradesh. We've been raising issues as far as the fairness of elections in India is concerned. I've done press conferences where we have clearly shown, without shadow of a doubt, that we won the Haryana election. That we actually don't feel that the Maharashtra election was fair. There is a full-scale assault taking place on the institutional framework of our country.
Within India, what do you plan to do right now?
Speaking at the Hertie School in Berlin, Rahul Gandhi accused the BJP of attempting to dismantle the constitution.
This is what the BJP is proposing, is essentially the elimination of the constitution, elimination of the idea of equality between states, elimination of the idea of equality between languages and religions, elimination of the idea of the central core of the constitution, which is that every individual should have the same value.
BJP launched a multi-pronged counterattack. Union Minister JP Nadda accused Rahul of insulting India abroad.
जब पार्लियामेंट चलता है तो राहुल गांधी जर्मनी में होते हैं और भारत के खिलाफ वहां वक्तव्य दे रहे होते हैं.
Calling it Bharat Badnaam Yatra, the Saffron Party called the remarks immature and anti-national.
Whenever Rahul Gandhi goes abroad, he indulges in Bharat Badnaam Yatra. Every time he tries to undermine our cherished democracy, he maligns Baba Saheb Ambedkarji's constitution, and Rahul Gandhi tries to tarnish the image of India abroad.
राहुल गांधी ने भारत का पार्लियामेंट में विपक्ष का नेता होना था. भारत का पार्लियामेंट का अंदर उसका कोई परफॉर्मेंस नहीं है. हर बार पार्लियामेंट के संदर्भ में विदेश जाता है, भारत का विरोध बात विदेश में करता है. छोटा बच्चे जैसे अभी भी बिहेव कर रहे हैं.
We benefited greatly.
Amid the slugfest, even Alai Samajwadi Party MP Rajiv Rai struck a note of caution.
व्यक्तिगत रूप से मेरा मानना है कि सत्ता पक्ष हो या विपक्ष, राष्ट्र सर्वोपरि की भावना से जब भी बाहर जाएं संयमित रहें. देश सबसे बड़ा है. देश के बारे में सकारात्मक नहीं बोल सकते तो नकारात्मक नहीं बोलना चाहिए.
Meanwhile, within the Congress, a new leadership debate has surfaced. Congress MP Imran Masood publicly backed Priyanka Gandhi for a bigger leadership role.
प्रियंका जी प्रधानमंत्री होती तो प्रियंका जी इंदिरा गांधी की पोती हैं. वो जवाब देती इंदिरा जी की शैली के अंदर. प्रियंका गांधी हमारा चेहरा हैं. प्रियंका गांधी हमारी नेता हैं. प्रियंका गांधी को देश सुनता है, दुनिया देखती है.
The remark has given the BJP fresh ammunition, mocking Rahul Gandhi's standing within his own party.
इमरान मसूद ने तो साफ साफ कह दिया कि अब उनको राहुल गांधी पर कोई भरोसा नहीं बचा है. अब राहुल हटाओ, प्रियंका जी को लाओ.
Rahul Gandhi's Berlin remarks have sparked fierce backlash from the BJP and caution from an ally. Will his comments on Indian elections made on foreign soil help or hurt the Congress? Bureau Report, India Today.
So in their merit in the BJP claiming that there is a pattern to Rahul Gandhi's statements demeaning Indian democracy from Berkeley to Berlin, or is the Congress right in telling the BJP, look within? Look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's statements, whether on the issue of corruption or backwardness in India pre-2014, and that criticizing a government or the Prime Minister is not the same as criticizing the country. Joining me on India First is Supriya Shrinate, Chairperson, Social Media and Digital Platforms, member of the Congress Working Committee, Tuhin, Sinha, National Spokesperson of the BJP. Sanjay Jha joins us as a political analyst and commentator, earlier with the Congress. Anand Ranganathan, author and consulting editor, Swaraj. So, for the first comments, 2 minutes, uninterrupted opening statement to set up the discussion before we dive straight into the debate. And Supriya Shrinate, BJP quotes data to say Congress has lost 55 elections since 2014, but the alliance also won 16. So blaming institutions for defeat is only deflection and not looking within. Because with the same institutions, Congress has won several elections too, including Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and Rahul Gandhi in Parliament, madam.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. Good evening to you, your viewers, and of course my fellow panelists. The reality is that this discussion we are having because the BJP wants us to be distracted from the real issues. We are having this discussion, the BJP, because has no answers to why the government is quiet, absolutely a silent spectator on the killing of Hindus in Bangladesh. The BJP doesn't want to answer questions on the toxicity that we are witnessing in Delhi. They are absolutely oblivious to air pollution. There has been a death warrant issued against the Aravalis. The BJP doesn't want to talk on that. The BJP doesn't want to talk on Ankita Bhandari and one of their national secretaries' names now coming to fore. Apparently, he was the VIP that she refused to go to have a sexual relationship. The BJP wants us to be distracted from the rupee falling to 90 to $1 because it doesn't suit the BJP. The reality is, and I say it with all due respect to whoever you played on this channel, all those bites of the BJP MPs and ministers who rush to television channels and agency cameras to give sound bites, would you play any of them if they were not spewing venom against Rahul Gandhi or were not attacking the Congress party? I saw Ms. Shobana Karandajale. She is the Minister of State for MSMEs. 60,000 MSMEs have shut shop in the last few years. Does she have an explanation at all? I mean, the reality is that the BJP doesn't want to talk about issues like vote chori. It doesn't want to talk about issues like SIR, which are actually deleting mass-scale votes. The reality is that the BJP is uncomfortable with the unholy union between the Election Commission of India and the BJP that Rahul Gandhi has exposed. Why don't they answer questions on that? Attacking Rahul Gandhi personally, saying he wasn't here. These are all weapons of mass distraction. We will not be distracted. It's as simple as that.
Tuhin, Sinha, respond to the Congress party saying these are deflection tactics because the BJP does not want to take the core issues. And the Congress at the same time also says Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he's been overseas in the past, he's made statements like previous governments were lethargic, Indians were once ashamed of their country, or words to that effect, or describing India as backward. So why does the BJP consider criticism abroad legitimate when it's done by the Prime Minister, but unacceptable when it's by Rahul Gandhi? Point one. And point two, this debate is only deflection tactics. Your 2 minutes start now.
Well, good evening, Gaurav. Good evening, everybody. You know, Rahul Gandhi's compulsive naysaying has reached a level where now he seems to be addicted to vilifying India come what may. So every day, you know, today he says India doesn't have a vision, India will collapse. The other thing which he said is, you know, BJP is working for elimination. BJP is working towards elimination of our constitution. Does it make sense to you? Does it behove a leader of opposition to make such atrocious comments? The only person who has been working against the constitution in the last couple of years is Rahul Gandhi, with his focused attempts to demean EC by fake charges of vote chori, which he has not been able to fight in court, number one. Number two, to find fault with SIR, despite Supreme Court not staying it. But the point is, there is a pattern to this. You know, from saying that democracy is in danger in India, to saying that BJP has, you know, strewn kerosene all over and the country is going to be lit up in fire. Does it behove a leader of opposition to actually invite this kind of anarchy? That's the moot question over here. Today, no top leader of the world, be it Putin or be it the French president, wants to meet Rahul Gandhi. This is the truth. And, you know, suddenly when Putin is in India, he blames the Indian government for not allowing him to meet him. But fact is that apart from a few shady woke gatherings which he goes to in in South America and now in Germany for the last 1 week. Fact is, no top leader of the world today wants to meet him because of his compulsive, degenerative, regressive mindset. He's somebody who has no ideas for India. And by the way, do you condone somebody, a leader of opposition? Do you condone a leader of opposition suddenly picking up a Sikh from a gathering abroad and saying that even Sikhs are not safe in India? They are not allowed to go to Gurudwara. This is vicious fear-mongering. This is vicious character assassination.
Let me bring in Sanjay Jha for his opening comments. Your time's up now, sir. Rahul Gandhi, Sanjay Jha claims wholesale and large-scale capture of our institutional framework. BJP hits back. BJP asks, were institutions captured when, for example, Justice Behrul Islam, a Congress MP, was made judge, or when CBI in 2013 raided DMK leader MK Stalin's residence 2 days after they pulled out of UPA, or Supreme Court in 2013 called CBI a caged parrot? Or does he say this only when he's in the opposition? Mr. Jha.
Let me start, Gaurav, by saying that it is not Rahul Gandhi's problem if Narendra Modi cannot do a press conference. That is the BJP's headache. They need to fix it up. If Narendra Modi cannot speak in English or Hindi without a teleprompter, that is not Rahul Gandhi's problem. Point number two, BJP is not India. Let's make this very clear. The BJP is a political party in power with a minority government, and it is in alliance with the NDA. They need to get a little modest and calm down. Criticizing the BJP has got nothing to do with criticizing the country. Right now, as we are talking on your very popular show, this program is being watched by people worldwide. So now what shall we say, that even this conversation is anti-national? I mean, this is ridiculous. I think we should put an end to this gibberish that criticizing, talking about India, and what the world talks about, by the way, is India's death of institutions, the threat to democracy, the RSS saying change the constitution, remove secularism. These are all established facts in the public domain. Realms have been written about them. It's nothing new. Rahul Gandhi is saying exactly what he says in India. He's saying it abroad. The problem is the BJP has no answers. And the truth is, truth hurts. Now, let me give you a couple of points with my remaining time. In an event recently, attended by the BJP leaders, there was a call for genocide of Muslims, ethnic cleansing, and a Hindu Rashtra. This is the BJP for you. We all know about the lynching that happened in Nevada, where a person's clothes were removed, his religious identity discovered by his private parts, and then he was hacked to death. Is this the India that we want? Can we ignore these realities? Bangladesh, you can see the failure of foreign policy. The GDP is considered to be suspect. Nobody believes the data. You have a country where the CBI and ED have become corrupt institutions and crony capitalism reigns. We have serious problems.
Fair enough. Anand Ranganathan, Rahul Gandhi may have criticized the government of the day, the ruling political party, but he did call Indian democracy global public good. It's not just an asset for India, it's a global asset, he said. Therefore, he believes this wholesale capture of our institutional framework and weaponization of agencies has to be exposed. Why is the BJP, is there reason for the BJP to be upset? He said this in India. It's an interconnected world. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. If he said it overseas, what's wrong with it, sir? Your time starts now.
Thank you, Gaurav, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Very quickly, 2 points here. Look, number one, I don't mind any Indian going abroad and telling facts or the truth or being critical of India. Absolutely not. The problem is Rahul, like a broken record, repeats the industrial scale lies again and again and again. Let me deal with just one of his lies. Manufacturing in a mess leading to dead economy. Well, last year, manufacturing sector contribute highest ever to our GDP, $490 billion. Under Congress in 2013, it was $280 billion. Last year saw independent India's highest ever GST collection, $270 billion. Highest ever vehicle sales, 25 million. Highest ever income tax payers, 104 million. Highest ever manufacturing PMI, 29.2. Highest ever exports, $825 billion. Highest ever jobs created, 46 billion. Highest ever forex reserves, $704 billion. Highest ever Sensex, 86,100. Are these telltale signs of a dead economy? It gets even better. The economic growth is inclusive. Since 2014, our GDP per capita PPP inflation adjusted has doubled to 11,000 USDs. In 2014, inflation was 10%. Today, it is downwards of 2%. In 2014, multidimensional poverty as a percentage of population was 29%. Today, it's 11%. We have literally pulled 250 million Indians out of abject poverty in the last 11 years. According to the World Bank, India is now the fourth most equal country in the world. India's Gini coefficient, a metric of inequality, is at its lowest ever at 0.25. Number two, about Rahul or Priyanka. It doesn't matter, Gaurav. Bringing in Priyanka would be like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. The fact of the matter is, while Rahul says poverty is a state of mind, Modi has pulled 250 million minds out of poverty, provided 120 million toilets, 100 million gas connections, 40 million homes, 380 million health insurance cards, 110 million tap water connections. And Rahul and Priyanka should be thanking Modi for taking care of their dynasty bastions, Amethi and Raebareli, that were languishing at the bottom. Here, just 30 seconds, are the last census indices of
Okay, you've run out of time on this part. Equal time for all, and I will come back to you for this. Supriya, Shrinate, BJP asks all the points that Rahul Gandhi wants to raise. Anand Ranganathan says as a broken record. Should he not do that in our country? BJP says there's a pattern from Berkeley to Berlin. Recall that interaction, that virtual interaction with former US Under Secretary of State Nicholas Burns, where Rahul Gandhi spoke of, again, wholesale capture of institutions. But he questioned the Western silence over what's happening in India.
So I will first rebut some of what has been said and then go on to answering your direct question. The problem with numbers and data is if you quote them in isolation, they paint no picture. All these numbers that were rattled just here by the BJP spokesperson and the supporter right here on your channel are in sharp contrast to the 19 people who on an average every day are committing suicide because of economic depravity in the country. Let's talk about numbers. You want to talk about manufacturing? Manufacturing till 2014 was 17% of your GDP. It has slipped to under 14% of your GDP. Don't talk about that number in isolation. You do want to talk about the average annual growth in manufacturing. The target was 12 to 14% set by Mr. Modi. We have grown at an average of 5.8% in the last 10 years as far as manufacturing is concerned. You were supposed to create 10 crore additional jobs in manufacturing. The reality is that the percentage of people employed in manufacturing as a percentage of total employment has shrunk from 12.6 to 11.4%. You want to talk about the MSMEs, I've already mentioned, 60,000 MSMEs have shut shop.
Okay.
You want to talk about foreign companies interested in investing in India's manufacturing. Last year, only 3 companies came in. You want to talk about Make in India, PLI, the corporate cuts, everything put together. Indian manufacturing is not roaring. That lion is not roaring. You want to talk about our dependence on China? I do want to speak about that. $64 billion was our import bill when we demitted office. You know what the import bill with China today is? $113 billion. On an average, per person import bill was $50 to per person. As far as Chinese imports are concerned, it has ballooned to $88. The rupee was handed over at 58 to a dollar. It has gone to 90 to a dollar. You want to talk about the per capita of India?
That you're
Let's talk about the per capita of Bangladesh, which is fair enough. You want to talk about the external trade? Let us for a minute talk about Mexico.
You're talking about all these issues, fair enough, but the wholesale capture of institutions that he raises overseas,
foreign policy,
does he seek global intervention in Indian democracy, Supriya, Shrinate?
You cannot be oblivious to that.
Okay. Would Rahul Gandhi then seek global intervention? Go on, ma'am, respond.
What sort of a silly... That's an absolutely silly and stupid argument that the BJP is making. People from the BJP who rush to television cameras to make that argument, you should not lower the level of discourse by making that argument. Rahul Gandhi calls Indian democracy a public good, and yes, it is. 1.4 billion people live in this democracy. This democracy has to be treasured. We have to ensure it thrives. What the Modi government is doing to democratic institutions, what it is doing to constitutional institutions that is supposed to safeguard the democracy, it's for everybody to see. Media happens to be one of them. And I will make this very small point and end my argument. Democracy needs to be transparent. We don't even know what's happening in the PMO. The officer on special duty, is he in or out?
Okay.
The Prasar Bharati, the public broadcaster head resigns. The law commission members resigns. What is happening? Is there a betting racket that's on? Because one hears all sorts of speculation. We want
So,
the PMO
and
to
this is
come
being
clean.
raised.
The
Tuhin Sinha, you want to
executive
respond to
lot of
these
secrecy
points?
and shroud.
Tuhin
That's
Sinha,
the
you want to
reality.
respond? Because Rahul Gandhi
Well,
raises the
you
point
know,
of
I will-
misuse of agencies, lack of level playing field.
All his response
Also
can
raises
be
the
is to
point,
bash
you
the
know,
Congress.
any
That's all that they
businessman,
can talk about.
I'm bringing this back to the discussion that we are having
Well,
today.
allow me to
The
respond,
businessman,
Piyush.
any
Allow-
businessman who funds
Yeah.
the Congress
You
would
know,
see
since-
agencies visit that businessman. EDI, CBI, ED and CBI virtually target the opposition. Anybody joining the BJP, any probe is put in cold storage, sir.
Well, that's Gaurav, as preposterous a lie as the allegations of vote chori and his apprehensions on SIR have been. But allow me to make some important points over here. Since both the previous speakers have dwelt upon data, allow me to go beyond that. What has been one of the biggest geopolitical moves from India in the last 2 years? The India, Middle East, European corridor. One day before that was announced at the finale of G20 summit, where was Rahul Gandhi? He was in Brussels singing praises for BRI, China's BRI. Does this behove, this is a fundamental question. I don't know whether Supriya, Shrinate would understand this, but why should a leader of opposition always be always seen as undermining his own country's achievements, his own country's moves, and singing praises for China? In fact, it was the Supreme Court 2 months back in the month of August, which actually said no true Indian can speak in this manner. Again, referring to his comments, glorifying China in some conflict situation. Now, the point is, Supriya may wax eloquent on some of the,
You are lying through your teeth.
data,
Don't
but
lie on
please
national
understand
TV.
that what we have
Don't do
seen,
that.
what we have
I
seen,
will call
what
out
we
your
have, please
lies.
don't barge in right now.
Preposterous
What we
liar
have
you
seen
are.
in the manufacturing sector in
You
the
are
last
lying, I
few
will have
years
to barge
is
in.
a paradigm shift. Semiconductor manufacturing. I don't need certificates
What
from
is
the
the
Congress
paradigm
spokesperson
shift?
of all people, okay? Semiconductor manufacturing, which Congress could never even think
How
of.
silly you
Today,
are, because
India
you
is
don't
headed
understand
towards
data.
becoming the semiconductor
Okay, so
manufacturing
let
hub
Tuhin
of the-
complete his
of the-
point, ma'am.
of
I'm
the
coming
world.
back to you.
Number two, space sector. Today, the space sector stands at $10 billion. It is headed towards $50 billion in the next 10 years. The renewable energy sector, these are the high-value sectors which we have focused on in manufacturing. Of course, the Congress, which had reduced
I
India
please
to a
make a very
sweatshop,
little
will not
point?
understand its
Yes,
significance.
especially on the point where you believe that Tuhin Sinha is being economical with the truth on that specific point that you were raising. Supriya, Shrinate.
I just want to raise a very little point. I will not embarrass the Prime Minister of this country, and I will not waste the time of your viewers. They just have to go online and see the kind of things that Mr. Modi has said as the Prime Minister of this country. लोग पहले अभागे थे, उनका जन्म भारत में क्यों होता था? No, nobody thought they were unfortunate because they were born in this country. But I want to make one point. Electoral bonds is a scheme that was brought in by this government. It was scrapped by the Supreme Court because it was Chanda Do, Dhanda Lo scheme. That tells you all about the secrecy that shrouds this government, the kind of ill and malpractices that
Show
they do.
that institutions
The
in
reality
this
is that
country
the
work.
has been exposed by the court.
Institutions in this country
itself.
work. So,
That is what
doesn't that
ED and
defeat
CBI have
Rahul
become.
Gandhi's argument
Frontals of
that
the BJP.
that institutions are compromised? A government does anything which is incorrect, the Supreme Court sets the government right. But I want to bring in Sanjay Jha. Okay, you want to come in for 1 minute. Anand Ranganathan, you want to quickly come in for 1 minute.
Why should the
and then
ED be
Sanjay.
doing that? Have you heard the commentary of
Sorry,
ED
Sanjay,
from the
I didn't mean
courts?
to. Yeah. No, just a couple of points because Supriya ji mentioned some of the data that I had given. None of that data was refuted, but I'd like to ask Supriya ji when she mentioned about the fact that when UPA left, the China import bill was $80 billion. She's right. Our trade deficit was about 34 odd billion dollars. What she did not mention was that when UPA came into power, our trade deficit with China was $1 billion. It increased 35 fold by the time UPA left. So that data goes against her. Secondly, When she talked about democracy needs to be transparent and she talks about anonymous electoral bond, of course. And I was always against electoral bonds being anonymous. And it's great that Supreme Court agreed and struck it down. But what Supriya ji has to explain, that while on one side Rahul Gandhi called the anonymous electoral bonds as independent India's greatest scam, how on earth did the same Congress of Rahul Gandhi accepted 1,600 crores through the same anonymous electoral bonds?
Okay, but I want to
Can I
stay on
please come
Sanjay
in?
Jha. Yes, you since he's raised a specific
I
point
answer
about the
that
Congress.
question?
Yes, please. Supriya, Shrinate, quickly.
Sanjay, with your with all good puts like you, I'll just answer this and then of course Sanjay can take over. The reality is that don't quote numbers in isolation. It was $37 billion, went up to 68. It was 68, went up to 113. And please understand, China in Doklam, China in Depsang, China in Ladakh is now sitting within our territory. You don't want to fund China to do all of this. The situation has changed since then, Mr. Ranganathan. That's one point I want to make. The second point that I would want to make is, you really expect India's opposition to not accept the money. The reality is we've got 137 crore in our banks. The BJP has 10,700 crores. Our money went up from 33 crores to 137 crores in the last 10 odd years. The BJP's money went up from 88 crores to a 10,700 crore. That is the level playing field.
Let me once again bring it back to the issue that we're debating today, and Sanjay Jha.
Talk about that number first before you come attacking us.
Sanjay Jha, on elections, Rahul Gandhi claims Haryana was won and Maharashtra result, according to him, is unfair. Now, why hasn't the Congress, according to the BJP, followed that time-bound system? You find it illegal, challenge it in a court of law. And when you look at the recent municipal election results, don't they mirror the Maharashtra election? So is it time for Congress to do some introspection instead of just blaming the opposition? Because the BJP says this is Nachna Ave Angan Teda.
Gaurav, let me assure you that sooner or later, the public of India will respond. It's a matter of time. People are observing. They know how democracy is being ridiculed. The people of India will answer at the EVM. They will answer in multiple protests across the country in a total non-violent Gandhian way and tell this government that your time is up, you're corrupt, and you're absolutely a disgrace because of your authoritarianism. But a couple of quick points. I would like it if the BJP stopped talking about China, with whom we run $106 billion trade deficit.
Again, we are digressing. I want to stay on Maharashtra results, the assembly results which Rahul Gandhi thinks were unfair, and the local results that have just come in, local body elections, that almost seem to mirror those assembly results. So, wrong then, wrong now, or not reading the writing on the wall.
Since you asked me about Maharashtra, where I live,
yes,
I can tell you it is absolutely preternatural and extraordinary that in the Lok Sabha that was held just 4 months before, the MBA got 31 out of the 48. And then later on, their assembly aggregates were lesser than the Lok Sabha seats. So there is a lot more that needs to be said. I would request everyone who's watching this program to kindly watch the YouTube videos that Rahul Gandhi held press conferences on. And I can tell you one thing, Gaurav, we should be bipartisan, because the Election Commission has not been able to contradict those allegations of duplicate voters, hundreds of voters in one residence, suddenly new voters emerging. And in the case in Karnataka, you actually had evidence to prove that voters were paid, the people were paid to delete voters from the voter rolls. So I think we are watching what could possibly be the tip of the iceberg, and the Election Commission has been reduced into becoming a handmaiden of this government.
Sir,
people
that's
are watching.
The point. Raise it in a court of law. Of course, we are completely impartial, and we, of course, everyone has fair say and equal say. But Anand Ranganathan, once again, you have your hand up, and so does Tuhin Sinha. But Anand Ranganathan, quickly respond, especially on Haryana and Maharashtra. Rahul Gandhi saying Maharashtra results were unfair and that Election Commission avoided answering direct questions.
Not a single accusation of Rahul Gandhi has been proven to be true. Election Commission has held not just one but 4 conferences as press conference as far as Maharashtra is concerned. One on Haryana. Each and every allegation, and if Duplicate voters are supposed to help the BJP as alleged by Rahul Gandhi. Can you please explain why in Wayanad and in Raebareli, where Rahul and Priyanka won, there were as many as 19,000 and 20,000 duplicate voters? Was the Election Commission of India favoring Rahul and Priyanka to make them win?
Can I please come in?
30 seconds and then Tuhin.
Can I make a small point, please?
Yes, quickly, ma'am. Supriya, Shrinate. Yes, Supriya.
The reality is that the Election Commission has held no press conference after Rahul Gandhi's press conference on Haryana. We raised Aland, a seat which we won, because we believe whether seats we win or we lose, if there is voter manipulation happening there, it should be raised. That's only fair for our democracy. The reason why we raised the electoral issue, and I will tell you why, is because of this constitution. Each Indian, irrespective of your social status, your economic strata, you have one right, and that right is being trampled over, and which is why we will fight this war. The reality also is, and I want to say on Maharashtra, how is it that in 5 months, more voters were added than in 5 years? And I'm talking about absolute numbers. I'm not even talking about percentages. How is it that the
Sinha,
total
the last
adult
30 seconds I have on this part of the show,
Maharashtra
the point
was
raised,
less than
quickly
the number
respond.
of voters in Maharashtra?
Okay, Tuhin Sinha, quickly respond, because Rahul Gandhi says
Gaurav,
Maharashtra results they don't agree with. Yes, go on, sir.
No, I'll tell you why. Because in 2024 Lok Sabha elections, they were lucky to mislead the country. They were lucky to deceive the country with these all kinds of fake allegations that constitution would be tampered with. When we combated with the "Ek hai to safe hai" slogan, the results were obvious. 4 months later, in fact, from 2014,
so Gaurav,
when Congress had slipped to a mere 23% in the Lok Sabha elections, it went up to 40% in 2024 elections. It went up almost double of what it was in 2014, and yet they have the gall to say what surely was happening.
Gaurav,
and on 18th September, when Rahul Gandhi did his press conference on the Aland issue, mind you, within half an hour, within a couple of hours, he had to actually fact check himself and retweet, because all his facts on Aland were incorrect. The Election Commission, when Election Commission put out its facts, he had to fact check himself and retweet the entire thing. So this is the liar. I don't need certificates from you liars.
Nonsense,
that's the only
liar.
difference.
Jhoot bol raha hai aadmi.
Okay, this is something that we will come back to.
People of this country have been punishing you.
The Ministry of External Affairs has just summoned the Bangladesh High Commissioner to India to the ministry. This is the second time in a week that India has summoned the Bangladeshi High Commissioner to express concern about issues of safety and security of the Indian mission. Not just the High Commission in Dhaka, but also the consulates. The number of times that there have been protests and crowds gather close to the Indian High Commission and to the consulates. The other issue that India is very concerned about, and more than perhaps as much as the government, if not more, the people of our country are very concerned about atrocities against Hindus in Bangladesh. Because atrocities against Hindus and other minorities, they continue unchecked, unabated. The anger is now spilling onto the streets in India. From Dhaka to Delhi, the fallout is very visible. Demands for justice for Deepu Das are growing louder. There were protests in Delhi. In fact, protesters gathered close to the Bangladesh High Commission. They raised slogans against the rising violence against minorities. Of course, there was massive police presence and deployment that prevented the protesters from reaching close to the High Commission. But protests took part in many parts of the country, from Jammu to Kolkata to Hyderabad. Across the border in Dhaka, security has been tightened around the Indian High Commission. Armed personnel have now been deployed. We are told armored personnel carriers are also APCs are also being deployed for protection. As tensions rise, there's fresh violence that's being reported from Chittagong, where the house of a Hindu family was targeted. Ashutosh Mishra is on ground zero. He sent us this report.
Atrocities against Hindus in Bangladesh continue unabated. And the anger is now spilling onto the streets. From Dhaka to Delhi. In the national capital, VHP workers protested outside the Bangladesh High Commission despite heavy barricading. They raised slogans against the Yunus government and burnt effigies.
गूंगी बहरी सरकार जो यहाँ बांग्लादेशी एम्बेसी वाले हैं उनको अपनी आवाज पहुंचाना चाहते हैं कि भाई हमारे हिंदू बहन भाइयों के साथ वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है।
हमारे हिंदू मर रहे हैं और ये सोई हुई है सरकार, ऐसा तो कभी कहीं दुनिया में नहीं देखा गया।
बांग्लादेश में लगातार चुन चुन कर हिंदुओं को मारा जा रहा है, बर्दाश्त नहीं करा जाएगा। बांग्लादेश सरकार होश में आओ और हिंदुओं पर अत्याचार बंद करो।
In Kolkata, demonstrators marched on city streets, accusing Dhaka of failing to protect its Hindu population.
Rallies after rallies being taken out in Kolkata and outside Bangladesh's Deputy High Commission's office. Similar protests could be seen since last few days, and today the Hindu Jagran Manch led a huge rally where the members from the Hindu community and also from different Hindu sects have come on stage, and they are protesting just 100 meters away from the Bangladesh Deputy High Commission.
Protests broke out in Jammu with the High Court Bar Association seeking international attention. In Hyderabad, Hindu groups demanded strict punishment for the lynching of Deepu Chandradas. Amid protests, a Congress neta stirred hornet's nest.
हम बांग्लादेश में जो हमारे हिंदू भाइयों के साथ हो रहा है, ईसाइयों के साथ हो रहा है, उसकी घोर निंदा करते हैं। मोहम्मद यूनुस साहब, जो कि अपने आप में एक बड़े अर्थशास्त्री हैं, उनको तो इस मामले में सख्त कार्रवाई करना चाहिए।
Across the border in Dhaka, security has been significantly tightened at the Indian High Commission.
The several outer periphery of the Indian embassies is highly guarded by the police. They are protecting this area. So long they haven't witnessed any much protest as far as Dhaka is concerned. But clearly most of the places that remains heavy challenges for the authorities to maintain law and order and also the protect outer periphery of Indian embassy, Indian missions in Bangladesh.
In a fresh instance of violence, a Hindu family was targeted in Chittagong. Their house was set ablaze and a threatening banner targeting the Hindu community was found near the torched house. The violence has cast a cloud on the elections scheduled in Bangladesh early next year. With Ashutosh Mishra and Tapas Sen Gupta, Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining us from the heart of the action in Bangladesh is India Today's Ashutosh Mishra. Ashutosh, there's rising anger in India at the targeting of minorities, including Hindus, in Bangladesh. What's the situation on ground right now? Is the regime, is the Mohammad Yunus regime doing enough to protect minorities and Hindus? We believe another Hindu home was targeted in Chittagong.
Well, clearly something that is the biggest failure looks like at the Dr. Yunus administration is the containing the fundamentalists. And since 1.5 years, we have seen many of these pockets. Not only talking about Dhaka, but Chittagong remains vulnerable, as we have seen one of the in the remote areas of Chittagong, one Hindu family where they attacked, the house was burned, they somehow escaped. So the biggest failure at the moment looks like how Dr. Yunus and their administration has not been to assure the Hindus of the safety and security. In fact, the UN probe committee that was also formed, but eventually all of these efforts and nothing could work actually. But at the same time, we see all the assurances are only coming, looks like only a hollow. But when it comes to really providing and ensuring protection of the Bangladeshi national, primarily the Hindus, minority Hindus, that has remained only in the words as far as assurance is concerned. We see only and only the atrocities rising, and there is a number of such cases across Bangladesh, particularly in the remote areas.
Okay. You know, Indians and Bangladeshis, they share a bond. India had a role to play in the birth of Bangladesh, but suddenly we notice there's rising anti-India sentiment in Bangladesh. There's anger in India with the way, Hindus and other minorities are being targeted in Bangladesh. Is anything being done to address that in Bangladesh, or in the run-up to elections? Do we see rise of fundamentalists in Bangladesh with an eye on the vote bank in elections?
Well, as far as ties between India and Bangladesh is concerned, that looks like soaring and perhaps all-time low. The way we are seeing the escalation, both the sides, war of words, the embassy shutting down their visa services, the protests escalating, be it the Bangladesh High Commission in New Delhi or the Indian High Commission in Dhaka, Rajshahi, Chittagong, and eventually the services being shut down. All the embassies are being protected heavily by the security force, both the sides. That looks like a diplomatic standoff has taken quite high. In fact, I've been asking to the BNP leaders, as it is estimated that probably that will be the party will be coming to power in Bangladesh, and Tariq Rahman, who would be the next Prime Minister, that what will be the first challenge when it comes to restoring the Indo-Bangladesh relationship. The report says it will be mutual, it will be on consensus, it will be with the mutual respect of each other, and that remains. We'll have to see how they are going to, because once it is sore, and clearly when you have a catalyst factor of the fundamentalists, then you have the catalyst factor like ISI and Pakistan playing between the India and Pakistan relationship. So there are many such hurdles, and that looks like only will be possible when there is a new government formed after the elections, a democratic government, and then there will be something that will be initiated from both the sides.
Also remains to be seen how strong would the Jamaat be, and of course Pakistan's ISI, their interference, because last time BNP was in power, the situation was grim. Will Tariq Rahman, who comes in on the 25th of December in Bangladesh, will things be different post the February elections? We'll be tracking that story. Ashutosh, stay safe. Many thanks for joining me. That is all I have for you on India First this evening. The Ministry of External Affairs has just summoned the Bangladesh High Commissioner to India to the ministry. This is the second time in a week that India has summoned the Bangladeshi High Commissioner to express concern about safety, issues of safety and security of the Indian mission. Not just the High Commission in Dhaka, but also the consulates. The number of times that there have been protests and crowds gather close to the Indian High Commission and to the consulates. The other issue that India is very concerned about, and more than perhaps as much as the government, if not more, the people of our country are very concerned about atrocities against Hindus in Bangladesh. Because atrocities against Hindus and other minorities, they continue unchecked, unabated. The anger is now spilling onto the streets in India. From Dhaka to Delhi, the fallout is very visible. Demands for justice for Deepu Das are growing louder. There were protests in Delhi. In fact, protesters gathered close to the Bangladesh High Commission. They raised slogans against the rising violence against minorities. Of course, there was massive police presence and deployment that prevented the protesters from reaching close to the High Commission. But protests took part in many parts of the country, from Jammu to Kolkata to Hyderabad. Across the border in Dhaka, security has been tightened around the Indian High Commission. Armed personnel have now been deployed. We're told armored personnel carriers are also being, APCs are also being deployed for protection. As tensions rise, there's fresh violence that's being reported from Chittagong, where the house of a Hindu family was targeted. Ashutosh Mishra is on ground zero. And joining us from the heart of the action in Bangladesh is India Today's Ashutosh Mishra. Ashutosh, there's rising anger in India at the targeting of minorities, including Hindus, in Bangladesh. What's the situation on ground right now? Is the Muhammad Yunus regime doing enough to protect minorities and Hindus? We believe another Hindu home was targeted in Chittagong.
Well, clearly something that is the biggest failure looks like at the Dr. Yunus administration is the containing the fundamentalists. And since 1.5 years, we have seen many of these pockets. Not only talking about Dhaka, but Chittagong remains vulnerable, as we have seen in the remote areas of Chittagong, one Hindu family where they attacked, the house was burned, they somehow escaped. So the biggest failure at the moment looks like how Dr. Yunus and their administration has not been to assure the Hindus of the safety and security. In fact, the UN probe committee that was also formed, but eventually all of these efforts and nothing could work actually. But at the same time, we see all the assurances are only coming, looks like only a hollow. But when it comes to really providing and ensuring protection of the Bangladeshi national, primarily the Hindus, minority Hindus, that has remained only in the words as far as assurance is concerned. We see only and only the atrocities rising, and there is a number of such cases across Bangladesh, particularly in the remote areas.
Okay. You know, Indians and Bangladeshis, they share a bond. India had a role to play in the birth of Bangladesh, but suddenly we notice there's rising anti-India sentiment in Bangladesh. There's anger in India with the way, Hindus and other minorities are being targeted in Bangladesh. Is anything being done to address that in Bangladesh, or in the run-up to elections? Do we see rise of fundamentalists in Bangladesh with an eye on the vote bank in elections?
Well, as far as ties between India and Bangladesh is concerned, that looks like soaring and perhaps all-time low. The way we are seeing the escalation, both the sides, war of words, the embassy shutting down their visa services, the protests escalating, be it the Bangladesh High Commission in New Delhi or the Indian High Commission in Dhaka, Rajshahi, Chittagong, and eventually the services being shut down. All the embassies are being protected heavily by the security force, both the sides. That looks like a diplomatic standoff has taken quite high. In fact, I've been asking to the BNP leaders, as it is estimated that probably that will be the party will be coming to power in Bangladesh, and Tariq Rahman, who would be the next Prime Minister, that what will be the first challenge when it comes to restoring the Indo-Bangladesh relationship. The report says it will be mutual, it will be on consensus, it will be with the mutual respect of each other, and that remains. We'll have to see how they are going to, because once it is sore, and clearly when you have a catalyst factor of the fundamentalists, then you have the catalyst factor like ISI and Pakistan playing between the India and Pakistan relationship. So there are many such hurdles, and that looks like only will be possible when there is a new government formed after the elections, a democratic government, and then there will be something that will be initiated from both the sides.
Also remains to be seen how strong would the Jamaat be, and of course Pakistan's ISI, their interference, because last time BNP was in power, the situation was grim. Will Tariq Rahman, who comes in on the 25th of December in Bangladesh, will things be different post the February elections? We'll be tracking that story. Ashutosh, stay safe. Many thanks for joining me. That is all I have for you on India First this evening.